Let's take a look at this 6'11", 23-year-old entering his first full season with the Detroit Pistons, Marvin Bagley III. I do want to make a quick note that this breakdown will only take a look at his defense with the Pistons. I chose 5 games and I watched every defensive possession when he was in the game. We're going to start with the ball screen and switching. So here we see a nice possession from Marvin Bagley III, able to move his feet, and then Trae Young just mishandles it, ends up in a turnover. This one is probably more of what you would expect to see and hope to see. So again, we get an isolation after a switch. He's able to flip his hips, move his feet. Would like to see him be able to explode and change direction just a little bit more, but still gets a good contest on that mid-range jumper. And if that's what you can force out of a Marvin Bagley III switch onto a perimeter ball handler, I think you'll take it. Here you see even better one. He flips his hips a couple different times, able to stay in front of Cole Anthony and forces a contested 3. So those are the kind of possessions you would like to see from Marvin Bagley III, and he did show them. Now, there are obviously some that aren't so good. One thing is when they get downhill against him, he has a really hard time staying in front. So you see here, this ball screen was moved way out. Trae Young is able to get some momentum going downhill, and then Marvin Bagley III does have a bad habit of going for shot fakes, and then you see he's not able to regather himself and really contest the second attempt. We're going to see it again here against the Magic. Doesn't do a bad job staying in front, but then isn't able to contest that shot at the rim, which is something we'll talk about multiple times throughout this breakdown. Here is what I'm most concerned about with Marvin Bagley III in switches. Our team's going to be able to really pinpoint him, really attack him, and then possessions look like this, where Jaylen Brown just turns it into an ISO blow-by layup at the rim. So those are the ones you want to avoid. You want to get more of mid-range contested shots, and then also when you're switching everything, you always open yourself up to some miscommunication. More of a slip here from John Collins. I'm going to assume that Bagley should have stayed with him just based off Corey Joseph's body language after the fact, but when you're switching everything, those are the type of things that can happen. Now, another option in ball screen is to run drop coverage. This I actually think Marvin Bagley III struggles with even more. So I'm going to show you right here. He doesn't even get over to really slow down the ball handler. In drop coverage, you really want to force that mid-range jumper, and you see he's completely out of this line the entire time. So what I would have liked to see from him, just step over here. His depth isn't bad, but he's got to step over and at least slow down the ball handler just a little bit. And I think Marvin Bagley III struggles, so he ends up just taking away one thing or the other. This one, he's going to play too high. He does get over in front of the ball handler like I talked about, gets way too high, leaves a wide open lob for Clint Capella. The very next possession, you're going to see the opposite. Again, doesn't get over and slow down Trae Young whatsoever on the drive. And because he had given up the lob on the previous possession, you see he ends up not contesting that at all and gives up a layup. So I do think that that's going to be something that Marvin Bagley would really have to improve on. And then also in drop coverage, you have to be able to stop, change direction, get back in front of the roll man. I know that wasn't a true ball screen situation there, but the possession is the same idea. You see him end up with a foul. This is a good drop coverage possession, and you can see where every member of the defense has to be working together. So here has good depth, but he stepped over to stop and make it look like there wasn't a driving lane for Trae Young. Corey Joseph does a good job fighting over the top. Jeremy Grant's helping a little bit. Cade Cunningham's going to tag on the roll man just to slow him down a little bit, and you see they get nothing out of that ball screen possession. So in drop, it won't just be about Marvin Bagley III. If that's something the Pistons do more in general, every member of the team and the defense is going to have to do well also. I talked about going for shot fakes at down low. It happens on the perimeter as well and puts him in a tough spot. You see him go for that one. Actually has a nice pill switch, but he has to get better about contesting three-pointers and not going for shot fakes. And then one thing about him guarding so much on the perimeter, whether it's matchups or with switches, is he tends not to go get involved in the defensive boards. He tends to leak out. I'll talk about the positive of that in just a second, but you can see it ends up in offensive rebounds at times. A guy who averaged almost 5 defensive rebounds a game, you want him in here involved as much as you can. The other side of that is if he contests out here, whether on or off ball, you can get out in transition, get some cross matches, and get early post-ups and lobs. As you see, he gets a great matchup here, running the floor, getting that early post position, and gets a bucket. I would prefer he goes and gets involved from the perimeter like we see here, but I think there's an argument for letting him just contest, fly by, and go get that early post position on the other end of the floor. We're going to transition into completely off the ball defense now with Marvin Bagley III. First with his defensive rebound. Great recognition here as they're doubling Jason Tatum. He goes with Jaylen Brown on the cut. And then you're going to see a nice rotation down here onto the block to box out Robert Williams. He does a pretty good job getting the right position. I do think there's room for improvement, just being a little more physical with these box outs. He gets a lot of them, but I do think he could get 1 or 2 more defensive rebounds per game, just a little bit more physical, a little bit more aggressive. And then his help off ball. Not going to be a big rim protector, but he's flashed some where it gives me hope that maybe there's something there. Nice rotation there, times it up good, gets the block on Tyler Hero. I actually love this possession from Marvin Bagley III. This is the stuff I didn't see when I broke down his game film with the Sacramento Kings. There's going to be 2 guys cut in on the weak side. Both would be open. Right here, he meets this one and is physical with him. The other cutter gets the ball and he actually contests that at the rim. Contest another shot. So I do think there was some improvement in terms of just his awareness. It wasn't perfect. I'll show the bad clips here in a little bit, but there was improvement. And then you guys may think I'm crazy, but one way of rim protecting, if you're not a great shot blocker, is taking charges. I wonder if this is something he could get really good at, either taking charges, playing with verticality, or both. Because even though I showed the clip of him blocking Tyler Hero, there was a lot where he left block shots on the court, in my opinion. Makes the right rotation here, doesn't even get off the floor. Think back to that Magic possession where he switched and Wagner was able to just shoot that little lefty hook without a contest. Another one here against the Magic, he comes in and again, you're going to see him not even get off the floor. There's something missing with Marvin Bagley III in terms of his timing or awareness or anticipation in terms of being a good shot blocker. It just doesn't seem to be there. On this one, I would actually prefer he doesn't come across to help. Cade Cunningham is between the offensive player and the basket. This is going to be a tough shot, but if you do, you got to time it up right and get that block shot, because if not, you have somebody behind you ready for an offensive rebound like you see Capella on that one. And while his all-around defensive awareness was better than what I saw with the Kings, there were still plenty of possessions where it showed up. So here, double team on Jaylen Brown. He should see this and be ready to rotate. He sees it late. Marcus Smart gets a wide open 3, able to knock it down. I would say more than with the Kings, Marvin Bagley III was just super late seeing it. Again here, they're going to double team Jason Tatum. They're going to rotate. He's late getting to Marcus Smart in the corner. And again, Smart's able to bang a 3. So he just has to see things quicker. Like this one isn't his fault. This is a mess up on Livers and KO. But you should see Strus coming off this right here. And he's just late recognizing it. And then because of that, it's a harder closeout. Strus is able to beat him to the basket and get a layup. So he just has to see things a little bit quicker. And then at times he still just gets lost off ball, gets beat back door on that one. Now I do want to praise him in one area, and this is something I did not see at all when I broke his game down with the Kings, his communication. There was multiple clips. I'm only going to show 2. Right here, you would say a favorable matchup for the Celtics. Watching him pointing to Isaiah Livers saying like, hey, get down here, be ready to help on this Jason Tatum drive. So I love the communication multiple times where he recognized those things. And then this clip is even better. So all sorts of action going over here. Again, you see him pointing and talking about Mo Bamba catching at the top. And then as the play continues, you're going to see it again. A cut here, he recognizes it immediately, sees that Isaiah Stewart is down there, points and communicates to him to take that cutter. And so I do think that that's something that can be helpful in terms of building and being a part of an all-around solid defense. When we look at Marvin Bagley III in totality on the defensive end, I probably would say his best ball screen coverage is switching, even though he's going to give up some layups. But if he can more often than not force tough contested mid-range jumpers, you would consider those possessions a win. And then off ball, I would like him to find a way to be a little bit more of an effective rim protector, whether it is blocking shots, working on that timing and anticipation, taking charges, verticality, whatever it is, and then continue to grow his defensive awareness